You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Greetings, Rainbow Warriors. I'm coming to you from beautiful Ojai, California today. I'm here reuniting with my beloved community after circling the globe not once, but twice in the last year. There's something simply magical about this sacred land, and to see it in the rebirth process after the fires here last fall is a true blessing. Fresh green sprouts and wildflowers abound. After being around the world, I can honestly say that Ojai holds my heart like no other place. The energy here and the people that are drawn here create a very special and powerful vortex. It's a quaint valley surrounded by mountains, it's full of spiritual centers, and is named by the Chumash tribe after the moon. I found it to be an extremely healing and grounding place to be. And I'm thinking I should do some retreats here to share the magic with you. You guys in? Check out my Visionary Lifestyle and Podcast Facebook page to see some yoga videos here. Send me an email if it sounds good to you. You can reach me at guide, Guide, at visionary-lifestyle.com. So now, on to today's show. Today's guest is Achintya Devi. Achintya is the founder of Goddess Rising Mystery School, dedicated to empowering the wild sacred feminine within our global sisterhood through Moon Priestess and Womb Codex trainings, Red Tent Leadership Certification and Collective, Priestess Path trainings and pilgrimages, and an online Moon Sisters Temple. Achintya is a Priestess of Avalon, ordained in the Temple of Isis and the Rose Lineage of the Magdalene, sharing oracle transmissions and ancient/future Priestess Arts Training in the connection with the Divine Feminine Ascended Masters. She is especially passionate about women reawakening their womb codes of light to embody the Sovereign Divinity for lasting transformation within and to serve as sacred leaders in this era of great planetary awakening. Achintya is also an acupressure therapist, holistic health practitioner, and Kundalini yoga and meditation teacher. Originally from British Columbia, Canada, she teaches internationally and is based on the island of Maui. I was blessed to meet Achintya in our community here in the Valley of the Moon, also known as Ojai. Then I caught up with her at Lightning in a Bottle Festival in California last year, and fortunately we found time to get this interview in. Coming up soon on Labor Day weekend, I'll be presenting again at the Learning Kitchen at the Lightning in a Bottle Festival here in California. If you're around, come and participate in my Yoga Starts in the Kitchen workshop there. So I've found that Achintya is carrying deep wisdom that the world and especially women need now. She shares it with grace and a commitment to awakening people to help create a better world. As usual, the show notes will contain links to her work as well as the downloads she mentions in the interview. Find all of that at visionary-lifestyle.com/podcast. Enjoy and namaste. A little extra bass. Boom. Ground it. Achintya Devi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
We're sitting in an RV at LIB Festival, guys. This is fun. We're in a little gypsy caravan, and Achintya and I known each other for a little while, and I got the opportunity to attend her new moon ceremony here, opening the festival with that, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I really appreciate the level of ceremony and ritual that you bring and that you raise awareness about and invite people to practice in and share in. And I think it's such a valuable practice, and there's not enough people doing it. So thank you for your yes to delivering your gifts the way you do. Oh my goddess.
Thank you. It was such a great experience for me when we were prepping and just to see your sparkly eyes, and felt so happy to be reunited.
Yeah, thank you. It's a love fest here, guys. It's a love fest. This is what happens when we show up and we open our hearts and we get to connect on a really deep and authentic level. So I think this is an important conversation for us to invite people into.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah. We want to raise awareness on the planet about how we can be the change we wish to see in the world, and so much of that starts within, right? Us doing the work, doing the practice. So tell us a bit about what you're teaching and bringing and channeling and all that good stuff you're offering.
Well, it feels really powerful to come from the context of that we're all on this planet right now, embodied in these bodies, and what a privilege it is. And how, and within this lifetime, both the destiny, I'll say, of each and every one of us to really embody our soul's full potential in our own unique individual experience and the collective. So it's my belief that every person that's listening to this, has some sort of inkling of that there is a greater purpose that we're all here for, and we each have a part to play, and unique gifts to offer, and to really, really anchor for the planet. So for me, right now, I've been placed on the goddess team. So so how that is coming through for me is really to bring awareness of really the resurgence and the reawakening of the divine feminine on the planet at this time, where we look around and we see so much imbalance in the world around us, which is a reflection of our internal landscape. So if we are to change the outer world together, we have to really take responsibility to shift the inner landscape inside of us. And for women, I'm really, really interested and passionate about women truly taking space in their own bodies again, and coming into the power of their womb space. So creation, birthing a new earth, birthing our dreams, comes from the creativity in our womb spaces. And so it's this is where the divine feminine is coming through us. And for so long lifetimes, there is such great, I like to call it the collective cramp, where in this lifetime as a woman you may be experiencing menstrual cramps. It could look as contractions in your creativity. It can look like closing down when you really wish to express yourself. There's this energy of the cramp, which is really inviting us as sort of the shadow to come deep within to look at and to heal and to transform into these aspects of the womb that are here to really be, I could say in this moment, what's inspiring me is our guide, our own internal compass to these great cycles of our own lives. So our womb space connected to the moon, that we have this great capacity within us not only to create but to consciously destroy. So we've been given this whole bad rap about, that destruction is bad, and there are definitely elements to that. We see that in the world, but there's aspects of where destruction can really be powerful. Destroying the belief systems that we've been holding on to, destroying the ways that our society runs, things that really need to die. And so looking at that, feeling that, experiencing that in our own lives, in our own bodies. So that is a big piece of this womb work that is connected to the blood mysteries, the womb mysteries, the moon mysteries, and really doing this in sisterhood together. So we have, for so long, and we're in this rebirth, I feel, of really coming from this era of separation. And in that separation has come competition and jealousy amongst women, being catty with each other, really being separate, and coming into a real birthing process of reuniting and coming into collaboration with one another, honoring one another, celebrating one another, where we become united again. And how this really serves all of us,
the greater good.
and then how that also serves with greater humanity and with brotherhood. So these are all aspects that I'm really offering in practical ways for women to be able to come into an understanding of how their own cycles flow. And not just in the very physical aspect, but in the emotional aspects, in the mystical and esoteric aspects. And having that really be a foundation for reclaiming our sacred sovereignty and to really stand as leaders in the world. So this archetype of the priestess comes in very, very strongly, because this is really the ancient, archetype of how we used to lead as women, and there's resurgence. So I can speak a little bit about that if you want.
Sure,
or if you have another question.
I'm totally intrigued. I'm really enjoying every word that's coming out of your mouth. Actually, I don't want to interject. And yes, the priestess and the high priestess, same thing.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let's just go to priestess first. And so it's really it's a word and it's a concept that is coming into our greater awareness more and more. And I like to imagine, and we could all imagine this as, if you will, a chalice, a beautiful wine glass, a beautiful goblet, let's say. And it's this ability to receive and then also to offer, and then to be poured forth. So this idea that we as women are filling ourselves up with our divinity, with our inner strength, with our inner knowing from the unseen, the inner landscapes and the unseen, the mystical, divine, however you wish to translate that for yourself. And in these human bodies, then bring that forth into a tangible way to serve on the planet that's rooted in love. And so imagining, these waters that are filling the cup. So the waters of my divinity, of your divinity, that we are all a part of, and allowing for this unconditional love to flow into us, and utilizing that then to offer our gifts to serve in the world. And each of us have unique gifts to offer.
Absolutely. Right. I love all of that. And the water element is so powerful because we're talking about is the creative energy of the sacral chakra, right? Exactly. These are more words to talk about the same thing, the same energetic flow that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And flow being a key word because water is an element of the sacral chakra, right?
I love that, so, exactly.
Yeah, doing these visualizations. What tools do you use to help people connect with this?
Yeah, beautiful. So there's definitely different layers, and I really do work with the moon phases very intentionally, so that all of what we're speaking about right now, it can actually come into an embodied experience. So I'm really interested in people having experiences, because in my own life, when I have experiences, I then know, oh, that is truth. It's in my body now. It doesn't leave me. It's not just this concept that comes in, my brain and then leaves again. It's anchored in my body. So I'm really interested in women having embodied experiences. So utilizing different practices, and as an example, which you were part of the other day, here at LIB, we did a sister new moon ritual. So connecting to the new moon, the dark of the moon, understanding that is the time where we're in this gateway of ending and then beginning again, and that these sacred cycles are reflections of us in our sacred cycles. So having the experience of the different phases of the moon in our life as part of our lifestyle, as part of our routine or ritual, you could say. And so at the new moon, it's really powerful to really set our intentions for this next lunar cycle. And it's not even just the intentions that we think that are, sort of external, but coming into that, I would say into the real, it is a portal. It's a portal of power.
The new moon.
The new moon and the full moon are two great portals of power to consciously utilize, to be able to seed your intention, and then to also release. So it's like, okay, we're birthing into something new and I'm growing this, and now just like nature, and then okay, I've come into full bloom and now I'm releasing and my petals are falling and I'm coming to compost back down to the earth. So that new moon time is really this time of composting. So it's coming into this place in the body, utilizing our breath, utilizing movement, utilizing sound, all these senses.
Mm-hmm.
So utilizing the senses. So this, being a form of yoga.
Mm-hmm. That's what's brewing in my head right now. Like, where does yoga fit into this? I mean, all of this really does fall under the umbrella of yoga, everything you're speaking about.
Yeah.
But are you incorporating asana in this as well?
Yeah. So there's many tools. Yeah. Some of them, I'm a Kundalini yoga and meditation teacher as well. So I'm consciously putting into our trainings and for example, we have an online Moon Sisters temple. So it's a membership, and women come in and we're doing new moon and full moon ritual together. So twice a week, or twice a moon cycle, plus there's in-betweens of what's generating through the waxing phase and what is composting during the waning phase. And so
wow, nice.
So depending on what's alive in the astrology, we're utilizing different tools to really support us of what is alive right now. And so that's is what I'm really passionate about. With some of the specific tools that you're asking, our yoga, Kundalini yoga, meditation, utilizing the power of our, and this is specifically for new moon time, utilizing our voice again as form of creation, empowerment. That, in the beginning was the word, and in the beginning is the lunar cycle, in the beginning, and utilizing through our body, through our felt senses, this yoga that I wouldn't say exactly has to be asana in a specific form. It's more of a free form of what the body is feeling, and really embodying specific aspects that we are ready for in our life. So if this is joy, you can be doing asana. It's like really bringing this into the body, because you're creating at that time a holographic imprint, and saying to the universe, this is what I'm ready for, and I'm feeling it in my body now, and I'm expressing it, and I'm declaring this with my words, and that is the seed. So that's why I love to call it the dream seed, and that is seeds out for the universe, for collective, for consciousness, to say, oh, hey, I hear you, and boom, I'm going to reflect that to you as you take conscious steps. So that, utilizing specific shamanic practices, embodied practices through journaling, expressive arts. I'm utilizing and incorporating specific acupoints. So Chinese medicine is one of my backgrounds. So we're
also.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that you studied acupuncture as well.
Well, acupressure.
Acupressure, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so does that fit into the Marma points in Ayurveda?
I would say that Ayurveda and Chinese medicine are like brothers or sisters to each other. So there are some crossovers for sure, but they are different.
But it's Chinese what you're doing. Okay, yeah. As I understand it, all medicine derives from Ayurveda. So Chinese is actually
a derivative
a derivative of, exactly. So, but that's great. They're all utilizing all the best stuff. So
yeah,
we don't
exactly.
have to be fundamentalists about this way or that way. It's like what works for you, right?
Yeah.
What resonates with you.
Exactly.
As we talk about, vibration and using your voice as a creation tool, which it so is.
Yeah, our sounding, the sounding. I'm so interested right now without, diluting things is really alchemy. Because for me, I'm interested in people having results and transformation that are long lasting. And so I think there are so many different pathways. And when we're speaking about the body, when we're speaking about service in the world and leadership, and when we're speaking about really empowering our own lives, yes, there are going to be different specific practices that are going to serve us for a certain time, and then we may resonate with another specific practice and then move from there. So so in this conversation, really honoring that yoga, the yoking, the union, of life, and coming into this beautiful connection of divinity in our own bodies. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple other things that are really juicing me up right now too.
Well, let's hear all about it. We want to hear, where's the juice? Where's the juice for you right now? We're eating cherries.
We're eating
too,
cherries.
Just so you know, she's gonna eat a cherry right now, a juicy cherry.
I'm like eating the juicy
We're
cherry.
in the dusty, dry festival eating cherries. Life is just beautiful. I'm so grateful.
I know.
I usually don't eat food during the middle of the interviews, but this is special.
I know, it was just calling me. I'm like, and I said juicy, so. Yeah. Well, really, this piece of the womb space as well is in our sacred sensuality and sacred sexuality, because this is part of creation. And so I'm very much on this blossoming phase of bringing forth our sacred sensuality and sacred sexuality, because this is really where there is so much potentiality, and so much healing potentiality amongst for women, for men and women, men and women, for all of us. And my partner and I are also bringing forth empowered loving into the work. So he does men's work, I'm doing women's work, and in our relationship now, I mean, he's also a couples counselor, so he's already doing that, but we're really bringing forth this reconciliation of the masculine and the feminine to come into sacred union.
Yeah, and you guys are role modeling it so well. Yeah, what a beautiful couple. That's such important work for the world. I mean, it's another form of coming into balance. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And just releasing duality, ideas of duality. And I think, isn't this part of what it's about with the moon, the new moon and the full moon, that during these times the veil is thinner?
Absolutely.
And this is what makes it easier to access.
Yep, absolutely.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
In which part? The moon part?
Well, just
in relation with...
In relation to the veil becoming thin and what that means, really, maybe for people who are not familiar with terms like that.
Well, let's look at this in a couple different ways then. So one of the ways being that we are, that Mother Earth and the cosmos around us are the manifestation of divinity, of creation, and they have specific rhythms. They have specific cycles. And this cycle of the 28 and a half days, is the cycle of the moon, which is the cycle of woman, where the sun, goes through its cycle 24 hours. And that is a cycle of the solar, of the masculine. And yet then there's the whole solar year, and then there are the 13 moons. And within that sacred cycle, there are these different gateways. So in your own mind, everyone that's here listening, imagine a circle, and you put a cross in that circle, and then you put an X in that circle. We have this pie that is, divided into 12. And on each of those points, so not just the pies, but the actual points on the circle are gateways. So we have the equinoxes, we have the solstices, and then we have these cross-quarter high holy days on the wheel of the year. So I'm bringing, and this is part of the priestess wheel of the year, or the goddess wheel of the year, what have you. There's a few different ways that you can how that can be expressed. So these are the rhythms that that are constantly around us. And are we paying attention to them as a global culture? No.
Not so much.
Not as much, but they are resurfacing, and that's part of the goddess tradition, and that I am walking in this lineage to bring awareness to these celebrations, to these points of time of the rhythm of nature that are then reflected in us, so that we are living attuned again with the rhythms of nature, so that we are coming home, speaking of yoga union, not even just union with ourselves and union with each other, but union with the earth, Mama Earth.
Yeah, the divine feminine herself.
Exactly.
Right? Mother Earth. Yes, it's a homecoming to the mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mama Earth.
That's what this is. And that is the goddess. And she's rising. So that's where that comes from.
That's exciting. Okay, thanks for breaking that down. Wow, such powerful work and ideas and for people to be exposed to, you know, I think certainly not mainstream information, right? People are not paying attention to this. I mean, there was a time when it was, right? It was like, it was the way things were.
That was how we were, exactly.
Right.
And this is, and this is when we were living in villages, when we were living together in tribal culture, where we were connected together in a sense of place. And I believe we really crave that in so many different ways at this time, because that is our inherent nature, that it's in our blood, it's in our bones, it's in our DNA. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing that more and more now. We're seeing, you know, eco-villages coming up, different community centers, you know, the transformational festivals, like people want to be together.
And awakened.
Exactly.
Yeah, and community is just such a huge piece of it. Yeah, we're finding each other. I think, you know, the internet probably is a big aid to that.
Oh, hallelujah.
You know, pros and cons to the internet, but it's like once we find each other, you know, it's like then we're kind of unstoppable, right? I mean, I'm glad that we're on the team of helping people wake up, because there's a lot of people on this planet that, you know, need some help. Right, and for anyone that does have any inklings, I mean, there's a lot of information available, right? And so for people who are maybe moving more, expanding more into this direction and this awakening, and their consciousness is being raised because they've started maybe some, you know, healthy eating habits and some yoga and some meditation, and they're starting to feel things shifting. Is there a practice that you would recommend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd love to give someone some practical tools.
Yeah, this is exactly. So one of the things, well, in this case, I am speaking to you ladies. I'll get to you guys in a second then. But for the ladies, it's just because this is really...
And if you're a dude, pass it on to your lady.
Exactly.
Send her this podcast.
Do. Well, what we'll include...
Make everything better.
Is a link to this, so you can actually utilize this. So...
Oh, great. Okay, we'll put it in the show notes, guys, so make sure you check it. She's giving us some homework right now.
Yeah, awesome. And it really is. It's one of the most transformational tools that I believe is the center point for all of the work that I do. And this is really the beginning piece is for women for you to go to my website and download the Goddess Rising Mandala chart. The chart that is there is a way to chart your menstrual cycle. Your menstrual cycle is your superpower. It is endless, and the revelations that will keep continuing to come through when you are connected to your own menstrual cycle. So these are for women in their bleeding years. For women who are not, I still suggest this because there is still a connection to the moon, but it's not shown on necessarily the more physical aspects, but on the more esoteric, mystical, and emotional aspects. When you chart your cycle, and what I mean by that is you be looking at every day, and I suggest this for 3 months, where you're writing down your emotional symptoms, your physical symptoms. When you're ovulating, you're checking your fluids, you're looking at, and I mean your vaginal fluids, you're looking at them specifically. Are they clear? Are they sticky? Are they white? We're getting really intimate with our cycle, which has been so taboo. You know, it's, you know, and so much of that is changing, and it's changing when we can celebrate, when we can take away or acknowledge the shame that has come. It's like, oh, I'm hiding this, and you know, this is part of the divine feminine, and this understanding of the different cycles. And for women to understand your cycle, you have to pay attention to it. You need to chart it. You need to look at this. So after 3 months of charting, you'll be able to see, oh, this is the part of the lunar cycle that I'm bleeding on. This is the part of the lunar cycle that I'm ovulating on. Okay, I'm beginning to have a mirror reflection, because the moon is the mirror, right? So this is like you placing all of your information to the moon, and she's reflecting that back to you, so that you can look. I always, like, one of the things that I suggest is when you're actually bleeding, you use the red pen when you're charting, so you can, and utilizing your red pen when you're journaling, so you can see the different insights that are coming through in your bleeding time. This is foundational for learning all the rest of the phases, so that when you're aware as a woman of what phase you're in, you can, and I call this feminine life design, is that you can design your life in a way that will nourish you, that will support you, because we are living in this time of go, 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 and do, 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 and accomplish, 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 which is, you know, the solar masculine, which we love and celebrate and give thanks for, but that's gone out of balance in both men and women.
So one thing that stood out to me during your workshop, you gave me a nugget that's been sitting with me.
Oh, great.
Yeah. A reframe of the darkness. That when it's dark, it doesn't necessarily have to be painful. It can be seen as the womb space where you're growing. It's like a growth cycle, right? The dark is not necessarily the tomb.
Yeah.
It's just the womb.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And this is the piece where the charting becomes so important. And this is when learning the phases becomes so important, because our society as a whole really celebrates and honors the birth and the light and the celebration. And our culture globally, mostly, does not give reverence to the letting go and the dark and the death. We're afraid of death. We look at, I mean, this is on a cultural level, it's like we're afraid of aging, we're afraid of dying, you know, all of these, and these are all parts of the cycle.
Right.
So it's this rhythm of the cycle. So this is why, again, the charting, you get to come and look and see, oh, this is my birth phase, this is my death phase, and having this reframe that exactly as you said, you know, that when we can have and this is really an embodied understanding. It's not like it's just having in this one podcast and it's going to change, but it's as a seed, you know, or throwing that pebble into the lake to have these ripples, to invite this conversation, or notice, you know, if things in the death cycle, you know, and I mean the death cycle doesn't have to be like old age death cycle, but when things are leaving your life, when you are releasing things, you know, there's these patterns. It's like this happens every 28 days. You know, there's this week before, and I guess one of the things that's just coming through right now to really share and offer right now as a great nugget with this is that there is that phase that is before the new moon, the waning moon, or for women that are in your bleeding years, this can be, you know, the week that is before you menstruate, which has been given this rap of, you know, PMS time, you know, and this is where I think, and this is how men can be supporting women in this, to especially those that are in partnership, but you know, in friendships, of supporting women especially that week before they bleed, because our society is continually pushing us to always be accomplishing or being in our brightest or being in the good girl or in the good mother, sort of more starry, right? You know, generous aspects, and bright aspects that. And this, I would say, upward momentum, this growth phase, this upward momentum. Well, what happens if we are trying to go in this upward momentum when the energy in our whole body and being is descending? That's the energy of the dark. That's the energy of the death. It's the descent. And that's not a bad thing. It's the circle goes up and down and up and down. So if you're, as a woman, trying to go uphill when your whole body and whole energy is descending down into your womb space. That's where the friction comes in. That's where irritability comes in. That's where the quote unquote bitchiness comes out. This is where all of our anything in the past lunar cycle or before that has been aggravating us, what we're dissatisfied with, that's when it all comes up to the surface. Because it wants to be released. So how can we consciously release? How can we, without, you know, pointing the finger at somebody else and using blame?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, huge. So these are the ways of being, you know, that each of these lunar phases, meaning that there's 4 main lunar phases, and they get divided up even in that. But
there's a lot to learn.
There's so much
stuff goes deep.
We're just scratching the surface
today.
But this is one of the greatest things that you could take away with today, is to, in that week before a woman menstruates, so men, for your ladies, for your friends, and women if this is you in your bleeding years, that you slow down, that you begin to make these patterns of creating boundaries where you actually will say no to more social activity and say yes to yourself, and having downtime, having
self-love,
self-care practices, doing your yoga practices that are, you know, more yin focused and nourishing yourself. Exactly. So this is one of the greatest contributions to any woman's life that is going to significantly, if this is practiced, you know.
Right. Imagine the ripple effect of this, guys. If everybody actually behaved this way, if women were in tune with their cycles and their partners or their friends or family around them were, and we supported women through this, you know, natural cycle, it would just make everything better for everybody all over the world. I don't know how long that ripple effect would take to really reach the 4 corners of the world, but I think we should keep trying.
It's been so amazing here, even at the festival. Some of my students are here that I didn't even know were going to be here, and some of them that have taken some of my courses, like with the deeper training of which we're talking about, that I hadn't, you know, yet met or even seen their face, and it's just and here you are. And so it's really magical and powerful to then witness these women and seeing them even here, and like like with their embodied awareness and understanding of what they've gone through. It's just it's very really satisfying for me to see, and such a blessing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful, the work that you're doing. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And one thing that really stands out to me that I appreciate too is as you're saying, using your voice and being a leader, which all for me falls under the umbrella of activism, right? So standing up and using your voice to speak out against that which is not just. And I noticed just with the Goddess Rising Instagram, I love following, you know, the voice is so strong, a call to action. And is that a natural byproduct of getting in touch with yourself in this way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's, you know, because it takes practice to, we're even just this one piece, which we were just talking about, in this phase of saying, okay, in this premenstrual phase, which we can redefine as the premenstrual self-care, premenstrual symphony, as one of my students once said, that we're reframing this time. But to do that takes saying, no, I'm not going to go do this thing. I'm going to do this. It's like, even in that practice, you know, to self-care and nourish in that phase, will take the voice to say no, to say yes. So inherently that becomes part of that practice. To be able to
strengthens the throat chakra.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just and from a place of the heart, you know, in my commitment. So this is really, it's, you know, it's in my commitment to myself and in my commitment to serve the planet. I need to take care of myself. So therefore, no, I'm not going to do this. It's like looking at the larger picture. The larger cycles within the smaller cycles.
I love it.
And so, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, with that too, it's like our voices are really, they are so connected to our hearts. They are the extension, you know, this space from the heart, what is true in our hearts, and it rises up out of our lips with our tongue, in our voice. And it's connected with women too, to the womb space of what we are birthing into creations. This is what this is why we're using specific affirmations and declarations. In the beginning was the word, and we are using our word, to create our reality. That this is so important for women because we have lifetimes and lifetimes where we have been persecuted for being in our power, for speaking our truth, for sharing our wisdom to support and help others. And in this, looking at history, it's like in our separation and what started, all the witch burnings, were those that were healers, that were helpers, and were persecuted for utilizing their gifts in the name of love. And so there is so much, not only is there, a collective cramp in the womb space that is being called for us to heal together, but it's also in our united voices. There are so many women who believe that their voice doesn't matter, or who do not speak when they really, their whole self is telling them that they should, but then they don't. So there's these imprints because there's fear. Oh, if I speak my truth, I will have negative consequences. And I know that firsthand for sure. So it's like, this is,
it's a journey.
It's a full journey.
It's an endless journey. I mean, it can take a depending on what trauma and what conditioning is there, it can take a lot for people to move through that. And I would hope that conversations like this could help people open the door a bit, to explore it. And it's just, our vessel, our body temple that we were gifted, as our ride here on this planet, taking care of that is so key. And I love the awareness that you're bringing to the inner rhythms and cycles of this body temple, and how we can best live in harmony with Mama Earth.
Absolutely, yes. And and this is where we get to also say to ourselves within that, oh, okay, in this phase, this is the type of practice I need. I need something vigorous, and I need something, dynamic. And it's like, oh, well, I'm in my more yin part of my cycle. I probably am not going to go to 2-hour power vinyasa class. Like, how about I take a bath and do some breath work? How about I press these acupoints and give myself this treatment? It's like, so that this is what I was saying earlier about the whole alchemy. It's that depending on how you are, what phase you are in your body, is therefore going to correspond to how you are in your emotions and in your energy. And so so this is one of the mantras that I always use, and I use this for myself personally, and then I use this, as I'm sharing and as a teacher. Okay, what is needed and how can I serve? So if this is for myself, it's like, okay, what phase am I in? What is needed here? Okay, how can I serve this body temple? How can I serve myself in this way? Oh, okay, yes, I can do this, or I'm going to say no to that. So, but really coming from that place of deep self-love and commitment to the self, and then how that then goes out into the world. Okay, so for me, it's like, okay, sisters, like, oh, what do you need? Like, what do you need? Okay, you need this. Okay, how can I serve? Yes, I can serve in this way.
How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve? That's a good mantra right there. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's a perfect place to just wrap it up. I feel like let's just leave them with the taste of that. How can I serve? How may I be of service? How may I be of benefit? It reminds me of a prayer that I actually say daily that I've learned from Marianne Williamson as she's been teaching the Course in Miracles for decades now. But it goes like this: where shall I go? What shall I do? What shall I say? And to whom?
Beautiful.
Yeah. How may I serve? Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste.